Creep 1 and 2. Probably the most fun serial killer that we've had put to screen.
Everything you want and more. You choose.
So, I know it's been a while since I've been on here, but I have had some things going on, and I decided that I was going to make some videos again now, and I'm going to kick it off with Creep 1 and 2. I want to do like a quick little overview of what these movies are about, because while I was away from the camera for a little bit, Shudder was nice enough to release the Creep tapes. And we are 4 episodes in, so I wanted to get a kind of a review on 1 and 2 out, and then I'm going to go over the first 4 episodes in my next video, and then I will be doing another video later on of the concluding episodes of that first season of Creep tapes. So, Creep is a found footage movie from 2014, and Creep 2 was from 2017. Both are found footage, both are on a very small budget, and both star a serial killer that we don't really ever get to know the name of, but they kind of call him Peachfuzz because that's what the name of his wolf mask is. So the character is played by Mark Duplass, which I had only known him previously from a show called The League, which was a lot of fun. It was hilarious. It was about fantasy football. And I didn't know that he had the range to play this type of character, but overall his acting between both movies is absolutely brilliant. If you ask me, he plays that character perfect to a T. And in the first movie and the second movie, it's kind of following the same storyline along a little bit, but there's some differences in it. So in the first one, we get this character named Aaron who is answering an ad online. He's going to get $1,000, and that will let him video this guy's day. So he shows up at the cabin, and we watch him filming himself, and he's talking in the car and stuff like that. And then he gets to the cabin. There's nobody around. He sees kind of an axe and a piece of wood. He goes all the way up to the top, can't find anything. He then goes to leave, and that's when he runs into Mark Duplass, playing the character. And what he's doing here is he's wanting someone to video a day in his life because he has an unborn child who's on the way, and he was deemed terminally ill with, I think it's a brain tumor. So this is where you kind of understand what he wanted to do here. Filming this day in the life, all that good stuff. Aaron gets on board. And subsequently, as the time goes on, it gets a little bit weirder and creepier and all that good stuff. The first sense of this is kind of a scene they call Tubby Time, which is where the character Mark Duplass decides he's going to take a bath and have the guy film it, and he's going to pretend to wash the child and play with his little tootsies and stuff like that. It's weird, but also kind of like, if you're thinking that this guy really is terminally ill and he's never going to be able to bathe his child, it is kind of like a little sweet endearment, which is what this whole character that Mark Duplass is playing kind of does. He does a great job of playing on the, this is kind of weird, this is kind of creepy, but it's also kind of endearing if you put yourself in his shoes of what he's going through. They go on a hike, and they're looking for this heart-shaped rock filled with a pool of water that's meant for healing, which, if he's terminally ill, I guess he's trying to do anything he can to stay alive. And after running around and everything else that happens so much, he ends up finding it. They think it's this great thing. They climb in this giant tub full of water. It's a whole fun experience. But along the way, you can see Mark Duplass is acting a little funny. He tries to do some jump scares and scream at the guy and everything else. It's pretty effective jump scares when it starts off in the beginning. Then it kind of gets a little over the top as it keeps going, but it's kind of his way of testing this character of Aaron. Aaron does end up finding the Peachfuzz mask. There's a whole backstory behind that of how he wore it because his wife wasn't sexually turned on anymore, so he wore it, broke into the house because she was looking at animal porn, and then he raped his wife, and they never talked about it. But now she's pregnant, so it's okay, right? It's a weird, really weird overshare, and like what the killer is doing in this sense is he's testing this guy to be like, how much stuff can I do in front of you, or weird stuff can I say before it goes too far. Like, yes, I'm paying you $1,000 to film a day in my life, but at some point there's this line that you must draw in the sand that tells you, I need to get the fuck out of here. And if you're not going to get the fuck out of here, I'm just going to kind of keep pushing that boundary further and further and further, and let's see how far this can go. To the point where he eventually does get freaked out. He leaves. Kind of like he gets a phone call from Mark Duplass's sister telling him to get the hell out of there. That's her brother. He's just weird. He does some strange things. You're not safe. You need to leave. So he goes to leave, and Mark Duplass is standing in front of the door wearing the mask, kind of doing like a weird sexual prowl with little growls in there and stuff. And we see the guy charge the door, and then it goes to black. And then it becomes kind of a stalker-ish type thing. What we see is Mark Duplass going up a hill carrying these bags. And at this point, you don't know what's going on, but then you find out that it's just a tape he sent him. And then he sends him a knife, and he sends him a wolf, and all this weird, creepy stuff. He sends him like a little locket heart with a picture of them in it. It's all weird stuff that's just kind of bordering on the edge. He tries calling the police, but the police say that he hasn't really done anything that they can consider sending somebody out or taking care of it, so he hasn't crossed that line. He goes right up to it. But it's a good psychological horror. He then convinces Aaron that he's sorry, he just needs a friend, he needs somebody close, he's never had anybody, and that, let's meet out at this park. It's in the public, you can see all these people out here, and I can explain myself to you, and then you can decide whether or not we should be friends, or if you just want to walk away from it, but I think that you should at least give me that. So we see Aaron set up the camera, sit outside. He sets up the camera so he can record everything, and he has his phone set to speed dial for the cops. All smart stuff, but he sits down in a chair and stares at the lake, never turns around, and then you see Mark Duplass's character walk up behind him, put the wolf mask over his head, and hits him in the head with an axe, killing him. And then the video stops, and then it backs away, and you see this is Mark Duplass's character actually rewatching this, and he talks about how Aaron was just so nice and such a sweet guy, and that's what ultimately did him in, was the fact that he was so sweet, and he was so willing to just come out there and do whatever he asked. And it was kind of like a wink and a nod at the camera, because the whole time you're watching it, you're like, if I was him, I'd get the fuck out of there. And nobody does. And then when he does get out of there, he's free and clear, but yet he still gets roped back in. And we would all be like, you're an idiot, what the fuck are you doing? Just don't go out there with him, obviously. Like, this is not rocket science. But he falls for it, and that's how Mark Duplass's character actually explains this. So I keep calling him Mark Duplass because we don't actually know his name, as you'll see. In the first movie, he goes by the name of Joseph or Bill. And then in the second movie, he actually goes by the name of Aaron, which is the name of the person he killed in the first movie. So we never actually really know his name. That's how the first movie concludes. And then the second movie picks up, and it kind of does a fast run at the beginning of him stalking somebody and killing him. And you can just see, like, he's bored. He's just bored with killing. He's done it so many times. I mean, in the last movie, you saw this whole wall just filled with VHS tapes and stuff like that of all these people that he's obviously recorded killing. And he tries to explain to this girl, he has her come in, hey, I want you to film this documentary for me. It's going to be on my life. And, I'm the most prolific serial killer of all time. I've killed 39 people, and nobody has a clue that I'm doing this. There's no evidence, there's no rhyme reason behind it, but I do have 39 people I've killed, and I want you to record this video of me, a documentary. Kind of like he wants to get credit for what he's done, because he's been so good at covering his tracks and getting away with it, but now he's just so bored of getting away with it all the time that he kind of wants someone to like memorialize him, like build a statue of me, I'm so amazing. Which is, I guess, kind of what you would expect from a serial killer at that point. Like, if you've killed 39 people, gotten away with every single one of them, there's no trail, there's nobody wondering. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, I'm hitting numbers that nobody else ever has, but nobody else knows it. So, I kind of want my credit. So he invites her in there, he tells her all this, and she decides that, yes, I'm going to film this documentary, because she doesn't believe that he is actually a serial killer. But he does some all weird stuff. I mean, he gets naked in front of her, has her film it, then he asks her to do the same thing, and she just follows suit, because she's struggling with a YouTube channel of all these weird encounters, and she wants somebody to hopefully watch it. So to her head, this is probably a really weird character who's just looking for some attention. This one might get me some clicks and some hits. And they do a lot of weird stuff. Like, he explains to her that this is not a normal documentary. I've lied to you. We're going to end up both killing each other at the end of this. I want you to kill me. We're going to film it. It's going to be fantastic. He sets up all these little stunts and these little tricks and stuff like that. And he does try the jump scare thing with her, but it doesn't work at all. So then he's like, man, you're kind of a tough cookie to crack. I like you and stuff like that. So it's really weird. And like I said, he plays the character perfect. Like, it's very endearing. But then you get to the end of the movie, they're playing like a game of hide and go seek-ish type thing outside. They end up digging a hole, and he plans on her killing him and burying him there, and she refuses to do it, so then he attacks her. She ends up getting up and knocking him unconscious, and that's where the movie ends. Is maybe he's dead, maybe he's alive, and she's obviously survived the stab wounds, and she's going to get out of there, which was setting this up for a Creep 3 eventually, but that ended up not happening up to this point because they're having a hard time writing the storyline for it. Both of these movies are found footage. They both are on Netflix. They're both Blumhouse movies, and these are two very good psychological thrillers. I mean, I give them both like 8 out of 10. They're a lot of fun. They're good. They're short, sweet, up to 70 minutes. But those are the movies. Now talking about the character of Mark Duplass, this serial killer who's killed 39 people and gotten away with every one of it. And it's because he's extremely smart and well thought out and methodical in everything he does. So he puts out a nice little feeder. Hey, I need you to come film something for me. It's $1,000. That's what I'll pay you for one day. It's a lot of money for one day for anybody who's trying to like do something in their life. Like, most of us everyday people like me and you probably don't make $1,000 in a day. So you're going to go run a camera for 8 to 10 hours, make $1,000. How could you go wrong? And these people being low on money is kind of who he feeds off of. But then he does a little background checking. He looks to see what they're like. What do they do? What's going on? How did they get to this point? Do they have money trouble? Is that how I'm getting them here? And throughout his process of working around with them, doing all this weird, thrillery, creepy stuff, he's always pushing the boundary to the line, but not jumping over it immediately, seeing what he can get away with. He's also kind of understanding this person to understand what's going on in their head and how he can actually use that against them. It's very smart. It's very neat. We see that obviously with the whole first movie with Aaron, and then in the second movie you see it in that first clip with the guy that he kills right off the bat in the beginning. And then the girl that he's working with in the second one doesn't seem to scare so easily and stuff like that. So then he finds out that coming at her doesn't work, but then coming at himself really does kind of freak her out. So he uses that against her. He's a pretty smart guy, like I said, and he's clearly done 39 of these killings up to this point. Overall, they're very good movies, like I said. Not much more I could say about it than that. If you haven't seen them, go watch them on Netflix. Like I said, they're like 75 minutes, so you can watch 2 movies in less time than you can watch a single Lord of the Rings movie. I think you're doing all right. Don't forget to like, comment, and let me know what you think about the first 2 Creep movies. And then look forward to my next video coming out a little bit later this week. That will be on the first 4 episodes of Creep Tapes, which is airing on Shudder. You can check those out ahead of time if you want to, so then you can hear my thoughts on them. Till the next one, guys, rest in peace.